Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to an unboxing for Simon's game Marvel United. So I have kickstarted this game, but the actual Kickstarter content, the full everything that comes out, doesn't come out until March of next year, and we'll see how accurate that date gets. But what they did was they're releasing the base set in retail in August here of this year. So they opted for backers to pay some extra shipping to get their core game early and then get all their expansions and Kickstarter stuff later when the rest of the game is done. So that's what I did. Unfortunately, that was it was over a month ago they get released in retail, and I've gotten tired of waiting for my base game to show up, so I just went and bought it at the store. So I still am going to get my current game. And the only reason I even bring any of this up is because the retail one that is out right now, if you buy it through Wal-Mart versus somewhere else, the only other place I think I've really seen is Amazon. The Wal-Mart version has an exclusive character in it. So it has a Venom character instead of the Wasp character. So when my official version hopefully shows up within the next couple of weeks, who knows at this point, should have already been here, I will make like a little second add-on video, and probably maybe just add on to this if I can, the Wasp character, and then all the rest of the characters will show up. So just keep in mind that if you buy this at Walmart, you're going to have one different character than if you bought this somewhere else, or if you got coming through your Kickstarter. But again, if you did get it through Kickstarter, in case you hadn't read the things, the Venom character that's in this box will also be coming in with your Kickstarter stuff. So it's not like it's an exclusive character that Kickstarter backers won't get. It's just they shoved it in here instead. I think they're trying to get the hype for the Venom. I don't know why. Venom movie was already out. I'm not sure. But then again, everything was probably planned well before the epidemic hit and all that. Anywho, alright. Enough rambling on that. So I've already kind of opened this because I want to go look at it quick. So this is a interesting kind of like tactical card game. It's multiple players. You take the role of one of the heroes. You have their own set of cards. You play against one of the three current villains. And we'll just hop into it and I'll kind of explain it when it goes along. If you've been watching my channel and this was still in the Kickstarter phase, I had done kind of like a quick video on like how to play this game because everyone was wondering how to play it. So you may have already seen something. That's what that is. Here's our rulebook. There's some cute little chibi characters. All a bunch of different components. There's a ton of different tokens. How the villains work, how the players work. And it's all AI controlled, so you don't have to play as the villain. How different effects work, thugs, what heroes can do. So on a hero's turn, you draw a card, and then you play a card, you do actions, and then if you are on a location that has an effect you can use, you do that. Pretty simple. And then when you play your cards, you pick a card, and you do whatever it says in the box denoted by these different symbols. You also need to do whatever the previous player played. So you can kind of work as a team that way and link up. So if like you have an ability like an attack or movement that another player played, maybe you don't need it on your card, you can play something different. If there's a villain card in between you, you basically ignore that and you still do the other one. If the previous player though has a special ability, you don't do their special ability, you only get their symbols. So it's fairly straightforward. You just kind of gotta plan on what you want to do. Your actions are the green arrow, let you move, because you play this game in like sort of like a circle, so you can move one direction or the other. You can do attack, which lets you attack thugs, which are like the really cheapy, easy to take out guys that have like 1 hit point. Henchmen, which work for the villain, which have a little bit more. And after you've completed some of the missions, you can finally start taking out the actual villain. You have heroic actions, which let you rescue civilians. Or you can place the hero action on other threat cards, which are something the villain's trying to complete. And then you have wild cards, which let you do any of the 3 actions to give you some options. And then some cards have special effects. It's pretty easy. And then you get little tokens you can set down. For certain cards might give you tokens that you can then also spend additionally. And then locations. Some will have various effects. And the turn sequence basically looks like this. Villain plays their card, does whatever their actions are, and they need to be doing. And then it's called the storyline. Then 2 players go, or 3 players go. So 3 players play, then the villain goes. Then 3 players. So if you're playing a 4-player game, it would be villain, player 1, player 2, player 3, villain, player 4, player 1, player 2, villain, so on and so forth. If you're playing a 2-player game, it'd be, unless it changes for 2-player, but example, it would be villain, player 1, player 2, player 1, villain. But what happens though is, as you get further in the game, the villain speeds up and acts more frequently. They have various missions you can try and complete, which are rescuing civilians. So there's so many civilians you have to try and rescue, defeating so many thugs, or clearing threats. And you have to do at least 2 of these 3, either defeat the villains and the thugs, or civilians and the thugs, or civilians and threats, or threats and thugs. You have to complete 2 of the 3 to be able to even fight the villain. So you kind of have to decide who's better at doing what. And then they're going to have, your threats are going to be either henchmen or other special threats you place heroic actions on. And then you just build them up, and then as you do it, it unlocks stuff on the board. We'll get into all that when we get in there. And then hero damage. So your actual character can take damage from being attacked from the villain or henchman. And if you're KO'd, hero discards the last card from the hand. Immediately KO'd, they lay down the hero's game piece. Ignore all effects, and then immediately resolve effect on the villain dashboard, which could cause more crap to happen, so it's really don't want. It's not good use to KO, because more bad stuff will happen. At the start of the next turn, they pick them back up, they draw 4 cards, and they start up again. So you're not ever out of the game until I think you run out of cards. And then we have different challenges you can do to make the game harder. There's extra effects, different things. There's a solo mode here, which I'm not going to get into right now, but I'll hold it up there for a second if you want to read it. That's just basically one player is shuffling all the cards together and then playing on their own. And then, of course, the back here, we have how the villains do. So the villains do the following things. They add a card, they resolve the effects on the card, and then the heroes go. It's pretty much that simple. And then winning and losing. A hero, if they remove all the health tokens from the villain, they must complete 2 missions first, they lose. If the villain completes their plot on their dashboard, a villain must play a card on the master plan because it's empty. So the game isn't going to run forever. Either A, enough bad stuff is going to happen and the villain's going to complete their villainous plot, or you're just going to stall the game long enough and they're going to play out all their cards and then they've won because they have nothing else to do. Or any hero starts the turn with no cards at all. So you gotta kind of, and that's the thing, if you get KO'd and you had 3 cards in your hand, you've just lost 3 cards out of your hand. And then you start back, you have to draw another 4 immediately. So that's 7 cards out of your deck. And you don't have that big of a deck to begin with. Alright, let's look at the components. We have some health tokens. We have some crisis tokens, which certain villains and stuff use. We have our thugs. We have our threat tokens. This is an invincibility token, crisis, health. Double-sided, of course. You know, like most tokens are. And then we have our wild card, attack, movement, heroic power, some more health, some more invulnerability. And one of these guys fell out. Here's how this is packaged in there. It's packaged pretty neat. Little health token, or wild token. So we got Marvel United. And there's all the miniatures, which I'll pull them out and we'll look at them when we get to those characters. So, there are several expansions that are supposed to be coming out again. The Kickstarter stuff doesn't even come out till March. So, expansions, I can imagine they might, even if they release the first expansion in March, great. But there's a couple that were exclusive to Kickstarter. They add, besides adding new heroes, new villains, they also do add some more new locations, which just add extra benefit effects. And then each expansion that got added extra new little like rule to the thing, like the Asgard one added like a traitor element. The Peter or Spider-Man one, Spider-Verse added like a menace tokens. And they just all added extra unique little things. Alright, so here we start off, we have Avengers Tower. It's this location. So what you'll do is, when you first start these off, is you'll place all your locations out in a circle like this, whichever, I think, 5 you're playing as, 6, and there's 8 locations, so you won't even use all of them, but you play them in a circle, like so on and so forth. And then the villain, oh, we've already covered one up. The villain will play a threat card here, so you don't have this available to you until you beat this. And then once you beat this, then you gain access to those abilities. And they'll put tokens on here. They'll put various civilians or thugs on there, and they do have. You can say some of them have certain symbols that, because that's where they'll start. But if these ever fill up, and you can't fill any more spaces up, then they go. So as soon as you play this card, it immediately starts with 4 of these, and there's 1 open hole. So you want to clean this up as quickly as possible, because you can only take 1 more counter and then it's full. Whereas this one can, the shield headquarters can take 2 more. So they already start kind of panicked, I guess. So what you want to do is you want to empty off these civilians or threats. You got to decide, you know, who can deal with what. Which villain makes more sense, because some villains are going to place more of one than the other, and things like that. But then once you clean them off, you defeat the threat down here, you get an extra ability every turn if you're on this location. It says, like, Central Park. You may move 2 civilians or thugs in any combination from this location to any other location. So you can kind of, like, spread them out a little bit. And these are actually pretty durable cards. I know people were complaining that these were flimsy cards. And I mean, yeah, they're not like, you know, super thick 5-inch like cardboard or anything. But I mean, for the idea that all they do is they sit here and you do put tokens on there, they're not that bad. I mean, people made them sound like they were paper. We have Shield Headquarters. At the end of your turn, you may discard 1 card from your hand to the bottom of your deck to move 1 crisis token anywhere, so that can be definitely helpful. Shield Helicarrier. You may move to any other location, lets you get around quicker. Times Square. At the end of your turn, you may rescue 1 civilian from this location. New York Police Headquarters. You may discard 1 thug from any location. The Avengers Mansion. You may draw cards. You have 3 in your hand. And the Avengers Tower. At the end of your turn, you may search your deck for 1 card, set it aside, then shuffle your deck and place it on top. This helps you find what you need. And then we have Stark Labs. You may swap 1 card from your hand with any one of your cards in the storyline. So this could definitely be helpful. So if you've already played something, you're like, oh, I played a bunch of my movement cards, I need another movement card. or I need that double movement or double heroic or whatever, you could swap them around. Alright, so that's what we got, and then you just say Marvel United on the back. Alright, what do we got here? We got... This is our villainous dashboard. Or thing. So you play this down, so it's gonna say you're gonna play your like thugs, civilians, and threats. And you can play them in any order. It doesn't matter. Randomly, however. So as you beat them, so if you beat this first one, you unlock this. So it says villains here. Villains afterwards act every 2 heroes. So instead of doing 3, to 2. So after you beat the first one, it's going to make it harder. And it says, now the villain, once you beat this one, they can take damage. And if you beat this one, you immediately get an extra card to help you do it. So you might almost kind of want to do is, before you beat even your first one, is try and maybe have them all semi-beat. Because if you just focus on, let's say, civilians, which is here, and you unlock that, and you haven't touched the other 2, now they're acting more often. It's going to be a little bit harder for you to do it. So that sits in the table, everything goes around it, and then we get to play our villains. So we're going to look at our 3 different villains. We have the Red Skull. And so each villain plays a little bit differently. Here's your villainous plot. Here's a fear tracker. It says when it reaches 20, the heroes lose. You actually put a little counter on him. So he gets a little tiny cosmic cube that you set on here, and that works as a tracker. So you move it, and then if it hits 20, you automatically lose. In the corner here is a stack for his health, so you take the little health tokens and you stack them up on there, and it tells you how many health he gets per player. So he gains, I think some people, I have to double check to see if this is right, because I think it's, I'm not sure if it's 2 per person, or, so if he has 4 health, or if it's, he has 8 health. Like if you're playing a 2-player game, if he has 2, let me see what it says here. In a 4-player game, starts with 11 health. Okay, so it's not per player. I've been playing Marvel Champions a lot, and it usually says like 2 with the little symbol. That means 2 per person. So I would have been fighting them twice as hard, and then wonder why I'm constantly losing. The other thing lots of the masterminds or villains will have is a BAM effect. So if they draw a card that says BAM, they immediately do this effect on their card, as well as any other of their threats that have them. So if that BAM card is drawing, and we'll get to the villain deck, it makes them really hard to fight. So it deals 1 damage to each hero in Red Skull's location, and increases the fear track by 2. So this can jump up pretty fast with that. And then he has Overflow. If a civilian or thug token can't be added to a location, increase the fear tracker by 1 for each token you couldn't add. So with the Red Skull, it's very important to keep emptying off those spaces. Otherwise, every time you get too many, he's going to keep adding more. Plus, he can also jump up here and add 2 more. So that is the Red Skull. There's that big Red Skull picture on the back. And those just sit. They sit on the top of this, so that way you can keep track of them. Alright, then we have Taskmaster, who's a little bit easier to fight. He has 2, 4, and 6 health. And you notice he doesn't have that big fear tracker down there, because that's not his deal. But he has this BAM effect. Deal 1 damage to each hero at Taskmaster's location, and add 1 crisis token there. And if he has an overflow, if you have more thugs or civilians, add a crisis token to that location. So his special rule is heroes cannot damage Taskmaster as long as there are any crisis tokens on any location. Heroes can discard a crisis token from a location with no hero or civilians or thugs by using a heroic or fight action there. So yeah, every time he hits a bam, he's going to add one. If you can't keep these area ends, he's going to keep adding them. And then you have to spend extra points to take them out. And so in the end, you only have a limited number of points, having to keep spending extra and extra. I mean, yeah, once you take out them cards, it's a lot quicker to defeat, but you got some maintenance to keep up on. Good old Taskmasters, Tony Masters. Red Skull would be Johann Schmidt. And then Ultron has about the same health as Red Skull with 4, 8, and 11. His BAM is add 3 thugs to Ultron's location and deal 1 damage to each hero there. Overflow tokens can't be added. Add that token to the next location clockwise instead. So he just fills all of the things up. And it says, when all locations are fully occupied, you lose. So his is a little bit more straightforward. Basically, just you gotta keep thugs. Is basically creating, you could consider them like Ultron drones. You just gotta keep the city clean of the thugs. Whereas Taskmaster is almost a little bit harder because he's putting on crisis tokens that you then also have to get rid of. And there's good old Ultron. So, let's look through the villain deck quick. Alright, so first up we have Defeat Thugs. We have Rescue Civilians, which both have the same amount of 9, and we have Clear 4 threats of 6. So then these, again, would just be placed on the board like this. They're going to have little lock icons. And then once you beat one, it unlocks it. And you can beat these in any order. That's why it doesn't matter how they're put on. So you don't have to beat this one, then this one, this one. But if I beat this one, then this just slides over. To show that that one's unlocked. So it doesn't matter which order you put them. Like if one more aesthetically works for you, that's just how you do it. And I know that one of the later expansions will add different versions of these with basically making them more challenging. I think they add like 12 of each instead of 9. Alright, I'm going to set those guys aside. We're just going to move these guys out of the way so we have less in the background getting there. And then there's some challenges here. So we have a moderate challenge setup. Each player removes the wild card from their hero deck. The hard challenge, they remove both wild cards. And if you want a heroic challenge, they remove both the single wild and the double wild. So basically, if you want to make the game harder, you can. I don't know that you really needed to have extra cards for that, but that's alright. And then we have our Red Skull, like the super chibi version. So the decks are going to come in 2 styles. They're going to have the regular deck with the back, and then they have their threat cards. And then let's look at him really quick. So here we have the Red Skull. I'm going to zoom in on that. It's pretty good detail on there. Glowing coat. And all the villains are red, just to help keep them separate from the heroes who are gray. For example, if I can find Captain America here. So here we have comparing just Captain America. And we'll look more at Cap when we get to him. So there's the Red Skull. Let's look at his deck. So these are the cards you're going to play on the villain's turn. So if you play this one down, this is going to say he moves. You move 0 spots, but you do this blam effect. And again, you're going to do it for any of his cards and any of his threats. And we'll see on the threat cards that some of them have blam effects, which might actually dictate which of the threats you focus on first. So now if you play a card like this, I'm going to zoom in on these a little bit more. So he's going to move 1 spot, and then he's going to place thugs per his location. So this is his target location. He's going to play 2 thugs. And then he's going to play 1 thug on each other location next to him. And this is how the city gets full of thugs or civilians and whatever really quickly. She's got another one here where he plays a bunch of civilians in the same way, but he also has a blam effect. I keep saying blam, it's bam. So they're just gonna higher up when he has 2, and he has a bunch of thugs he plays. A 2 with a bunch of civilians. Just a movement of 3 with civilians. 4 with a bam and a bunch of civilians. So far, all his civilians have been the same. Or civilians. And now we get where it gets a little crazy. He's got like a power card in here. So he's going to move 5 spaces. He's going to move almost entirely around the board. But he's going to place 2 thugs, 2 civilians at his location. 2 thugs, or 1 thug and civilian at each outside location. Now the way the game works, because this is randomly shuffled, this could potentially be your first card, which would start you off really bad. Because you'd have a lot more stuff to deal with. His spear meter would probably go up a couple of times, and then you're playing catch-up. But also the way the game goes, because it stays out on the table in the storyline circle, you're never going to have to see this card again. He does have a special ability card. So 0, he has Hail Hydra. Discard all civilian from locations with heroes and deal 1 damage to each of those heroes. Advance the fear track by the number of civilians discards. So this is kind of saying, if you know this card's coming up, he hasn't played it, make sure you rescue civilians first so you don't get just murdered by that. And he's got 2 of those. And he's got a 0 movement with a BAM, and then Hydra Insurgency. For each crisis token here, for each crisis token, the heroes have advanced the fear tracker by 1. So there'll be a way off his threat cards to gain crisis tokens. He's got 2 of those, and that's it. Alright, and then let's look at his threats. So these are the cards he'll lay down. So his threats can be henchmen, like Crossbones. So Crossbones will have 6 health, and he'll have a BAM effect. So every time that Red Skull plays one of his BAM cards, he'll also do Crossbones effect. Deal 2 damage to each hero in this location. Any hero can prevent this effect by taking 2 crisis tokens. So, as of right now, with all the knowledge we have, getting crisis tokens isn't generally not going to hurt you, except for them 2 cards that Red Skull has. So you kind of gotta decide. Early on, maybe you can afford to take it and then just risk getting them cards. Alternatively, if those cards get played early on, getting these crisis tokens might not hurt you at all. He's also got Madame Hydra. BAM. Deal 1 damage to each hero in this location. Any hero can prevent this by taking 1 crisis token. And we have Bob, Agent of Hydra, which is kind of a funny inclusion, because I don't think Bob has ever met or worked directly for the Red Skull, but he is another Hydra character. But he's more associated with Deadpool. Heroes starting their turn in this location take 1 crisis token. So he doesn't even give you an option. He's just giving you crisis tokens. And then we have kind of just like heroic threats you can take care of by placing your tokens on there. So each thug in this location requires 2 damage to be defeated. So it makes them a lot harder. They're Hydra Elite troops. We have Subversion. So this arrow means if Red Skull lands here, you do this effect will happen. So he discards all thugs and civilians from this location, and you advance the fear tracker by the number of tokens discarded this way. Here he's got one where he lands. He does Brainwashing. Heroes in this and adjacent locations take 1 crisis token each. So they will build up crisis tokens. 2 for him, 1 for him, 1 automatic. And then this one's also going to possibly give out crisis tokens. So then when those big cards hit that he has, that's really going to hurt. Alright, up next we have Taskmaster. Like that. And people not familiar with who Taskmaster is, he will be in the eventually coming out Black Widow movie, but I don't know how faithful he will be to the comic books. We'll have to see. But essentially, he's a mercenary who has photogenic reflexes. So if he sees something an action performed, he can also perform it. So that's why he carries a sword, he carries a shield. They don't show it on here, but he usually carries like a bow and arrow. So if he watches Captain America do a move with his shield, like a fancy spin and dodge, he can now do that. He watches Hawkeye shoot something with a bow, he can now replicate that exact action. He trains, he's usually known for training henchmen, and he'll train whoever. He'll train, Hydra, he'll train AIM, he'll train, hand ninja if he needs to. He also, when Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, became leader of S.H.I.E.L.D., head of S.H.I.E.L.D., he was training people in the camps and stuff, the Avengers Initiatives. I mean, he's more of a mercenary. He does do bad stuff, but he's more of a mercenary than just a straight up bad guy. So here, Taskmaster does nothing, but he does his BAM effect. Here he plays a bunch of his thugs, because he's people he trains, plus a BAM. So he's not placing as many, because like Red Skull was placing 2, but again, he seems to be a little bit easier. But he also has, again, he has stuff where he has bad effects if he has more thugs out. Or civilians, because you can't defeat him if they have those. 2 and then a BAM. I don't really need to read these too much. Move 2, BAM, couple of civilians. 3, couple of civilians. He's gonna get less guys coming out. 4, BAM, with some thugs. And now he gets 1 thug, 1 civilian each location with 5 movement. Now he get his special abilities. Alright. 0 movement. Add a thug to Taskmaster's location for each attack at the bottom of the last 2 hero cards in the storyline. Oh, so that could become really good or really bad depending on how it hits. So now he has another copycat, but it's slightly different. So he has a civilian for each heroic on the bottom of the last 2. He's got Dark Steams. If there are no heroes in Taskmaster's location, place 1 Crisis token there. And he does the same thing a second time. So there we go. I mean, their abilities, they do stuff. They're pretty interesting. They're varying from character to character. But I like that you can have Copycat the same way. Same named ability, but it can be a little bit different. Like then Dark Steam does the same thing. So it gives him a little bit of variation. And then let's look at his threat cards. He trades up some elite thugs. Each thug in this location requires 2 damage to be defeated. Some more elite thugs. Explosive traps. 1 civilian in this location requires, or each civilian in this location requires 1 extra heroic to be rescued. Some more explosives. He has entangling trap. Heroes using movement to leave this location must use 2 movement instead. Oh, that's different. And he's got 2 of those. So he just got harder to beat thugs, harder to rescue civilians, and harder to move things. So it's fairly simple. Like, I know they recommend Red Skull first, because he's like the cover is the one they show. I almost feel like you should start with, it always seems like you should start with Taskmaster. He just seems like he's a little bit more easy to deal with. And then finally we have Ultron. He's scary even when he's cute. Alright, so here's Ultron. He's got a 0 movement, BAM. Oh boy, he wants to get them thugs out. So he's got 1 movement, 3 thugs in his location, and 1 in each adjacent. Or 1 movement with 3 civilians in his location and 1 adjacent. A 2 BAM, a 2 BAM, a 3 BAM. Because his BAM plays 3 guys in his spot, and then his overrun moves him. So he doesn't really need to place a lot. So he has a 4 with a BAM, he has a 5. He plays 1 at his location, 1 thug, and then 1 thug and civilian on each other spot. His special cards are Mesmerize. Give 1 Crisis token to each hero in Ultron's location and adjacent ones, and then place 1 thug in each location without heroes. And he gets to do that twice with his Mesmerize. His Encephalio Ray. Deal 1 damage to each hero for each Crisis token they have. Then one hero of your choice takes 1 Crisis token. Oh, and it just piles on. Got 2 of those. Alright, that's Ultron. Let's see what his threats are. His threats are Ultron clones, 4 health. With a BAM effect, it says add a thug to this location. Heroes in this location may prevent this effect if each of them takes 1 damage. And he's got a second one of those. Duplication. If he lands here, he gets to add a thug to this location. He gets to do that again. And then the Ultron virus. Heroes starting their turn at this location must ignore 1 action symbol of their choice. Oh. Alright, that was Ultron. Again, he almost seemed a little bit more straightforward than Red Skull. Alright, then we got a bunch of heroes. And every hero has their own different backs. We're going to start with Captain America. I think I need to zoom out, let it focus. It did not focus very well. There we go. It was kind of more like the movie-inspired Ultimate Universe Captain America, where he gets like the full helmet, and he has like military straps and pouches and everything. He's got like the brown on him, so it's more like the Ultimate Captain America, also movie Captain America. Look neat on all the hero cards. They're all going to have their symbol up in the corner, and then their various colors. So when you play this card, you're going to gain 1 heroic action. And then this is one of his special cards we're going to start with. So he has leadership. You can give a wild token from the pool to another hero, so then they can use that whenever they need it. He's also got another leadership card, which lets him give out a wild token, but it has an attack instead. He's got a 3rd leadership card, which is his movement card. So I believe every character, at least that I know of, has 3 special cards. Captain America just tends to be leadership for each one. It's the same ability, but it's a pretty powerful ability. And then every character, at least in the base game, if I'm correct, has 1 card with 2 wild symbols, 1 card with 1 wild symbol. And I like that they kind of kept the same picture for the wild cards. And then even like looking at his heroic cards have the same picture. So he has one with double heroic, because Captain America is going to be more heroic, more about saving people. He's got some attacks, so like all his attack cards are going to look alike, so there's his leadership with attack. This is a quick way to tell the pictures apart. So he's got a double attack, and then he's got a movement attack. And then he's got just a single movement point. And that's how the characters are going to vary. Besides their 3 cards with different stats on them, like special abilities, they're going to vary because Captain America has a bunch of double heroics and a couple of double attacks and attack movement cards to represent how he plays. Versus, let's look at someone who's going to be a little bit, or a vast amount different. And we're going to look at the big green guy himself. There's the Incredible Hulk. Rawr, him the Hulk. He's breaking through the ground there. Look at that. You can see the toes and everything. So here we have the Hulk. Here's a little fist symbol. So you can get Hulk Smash. his movement ability, deal 1 damage to everything else in this location, discard all civilians there. So you get rid of all the civilians, you don't rescue them, you're getting rid of them. So it's a great way to clear out the civilians, you're just not rescuing them. You're going to deal 1 damage to all the thugs, which will take care of most of the thugs unless they have a special ability. Like a special type of threat or something. And then you're also going to do 1 damage to any heroes. So you kind of got to watch when you're using this. And then he's got a second one there, so deal 1 damage to everything. So he does that twice. And it looks like he does it a third time. So all 3 of his are exactly the same. But that's alright, it's Hulk. And then Hulk's going to have his double wild card, his single wild card. But now he's going to have only 1 heroic action. Single one, because he doesn't do a lot of heroics. Like Captain's going to be a lot more, I need to rescue people. Hulk is going to be a lot more smash. So he gets some double punches, double punches, double punches, punch and movement, and 1 movement. So he's got a lot of moving around, jumping from place to place. But he's causing damage when he's doing it. So that's kind of the difference. You know, everyone's going to play a little bit different. There's only going to be so many different things you can do. So you can't expect every character to be 1,000% different. But I think there's enough variation. Here we have Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. I love how she's actually flying and they just have like her ribbon here on the bottom which was holding her up. And then they gave her her helmet, which I actually prefer that they gave her the helmet and just the base, because she looks cool with the hair sticking out. Alright. Captain Marvel. She has Photon Blast. So she does 2 damage, 2 attacks in 1 additional location. So whatever spot you're in, you have 1 attack you can use, but then you can also use 2 more attack in the next location, left or right. So it actually helps you take out some threats near you. So this would be great if the previous player played a movement card, because then you can move somewhere and hit 2 different spots. And then she's got 3 of those. It seems like maybe they all have the same card. Maybe Captain America is unique, just in the fact you get 3 different things. 2 wild cards. She actually gets an additional single wild card. She has some heroics. She has some double attacks, move and heroic, which we haven't seen yet. Some double movements, regular movement, and that's what she's got. Everyone has a little bit different. We have a Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff. And she's got her, like, stun batons. Her Widow Bite gauntlets. And there's our Black Widow. She has Interrogate. 1 attack. You may look at the top card of the Master Plan deck. You may place it on the bottom. It's actually helpful to like see what you're doing. Yes, all 3 are the same. Maybe they're all the same for most characters. Double wild, single wild. She has some double heroics. Ooh. Moving heroic. Moving attack, double attack, single attack, another moving heroic, and a move. So she's kind of a little bit more in the middle, versatile, which is what Black Widow should be. She's a spy. She's kind of the middle character. We have Iron Man. Iron Man Tony Stark. He does repulsor shooting him off the ground. He's blasting the ground. I love just the detail in that. Like same way like Hulk had his smashing the ground, and Captain Marvel had her like up on the ribbon. they could have made like weird, unique poses where all just standing looking the exact same. So we have the red and gold Avenger, his arc reactor symbol. He has power recharge. You may draw cards until you have 3 in your hand. And he has a heroic symbol. So he's got some different ones. His advanced combat analysis. Distribute 2 attack tokens from the pool amongst any number of heroes. So that's helpful, and he can move. And then Stark resources. Distribute 2 move tokens amongst any number of heroes. And then move. So like when I play this on my turn, I get this ability and I get this attack. And then if the previous player had played this, for example, next player I play Black Widow. As Black Widow, I get my Interrogate and my Fist, but I only get the Fist from Iron Man. I don't get his ability again. So you kind of gotta team up together to see what everyone needs. So there's double heroic, single hero, or wild, sorry. Double heroic there, a single heroic, a double fist, movement and fist, movement in heroic, and just a movement. There's your Iron Man. Alright, that takes care of the 5 characters that were originally in the base game. And then, later on, what they did was they added Ant-Man and Wasp. They were going to be... they were available for Kickstarter people, but then they just added them in the core set, which is kind of cool. So we have Ant-Man. He's sitting on a quarter. I'll give you a picture on that side. Or not a quarter. Is it a dollar coin? I thought it was a quarter, but... Oh yeah. You see a Q on that side. There's a little mask and everything. Yeah, just kind of trying to show it. I mean, he's the same size figure as all the rest, but they tried to make him appear and try to look bigger. So, if you buy the game anywhere outside of Walmart, you're going to get Ant-Man and Wasp. If you bought it at Walmart, you're going to get Ant-Man and you're going to get Venom. So we'll look at Ant-Man first, and then, like I said, when I get my other set, I'll either add on to this or I'll make another video just adding on Wasp. So there's Ant-Man. Let's see what Ant-Man can do. Quantum Leap. Swap this card with any of your face-up cards in the storyline. That card becomes the one you played this turn. Okay, so you basically just gain the bonus right away. That's cool. Then he has some different abilities. He has Grow. You get 1 movement, and then you get 3 attacks against a single target. So that can be helpful for taking out, hitting the villain at the end, hitting a henchman. Not really usable, though, or suitable if you're going to take out most thugs, though. And then he has Shrink. You cannot take damage until you begin your next turn, and it's a wild icon. Double wild, single wild, a double heroic, a single heroic. Moving heroics. There's a lot of heroic stuff. Heroic and attack. Just an attack. A double and a movement. So he doesn't have a lot of movement. Really, he's got this single card, and that card, and then the Grow card. So you can't move around a lot on his own, which kind of, I guess makes sense if he's tiny. He can't get from spot to spot super fast, but he can do some damage. Alright, now we have Venom, and look at this sculpt. It's got tendrils everywhere. His tongue sticking out. Alright. And here's Venom. So I'm not even sure how Venom's going to play because he's not really he's an anti-hero, I guess. So we have Venom. Tracking. You can move to any location and attack there. Nice. Regeneration. You may draw cards until you have 3 in your hand. Movement. And Symbiote Enhancement. You gain 1 attack, plus you gain a movement and attack. So you have 2 wilds, 1 wild, a heroic, and an attack, double attack, single attack, movement and heroic, movement and attack, move and attack, just movement, and then some attacks. So not a lot of heroics. Makes sense for Venom. A lot more attacking. Yeah, I don't know why they did that though. Not why they had Venom. Whatever. I don't know why they did that either. And replaced. I mean, obviously, I would have thought it would make more sense to keep Ant-Man and Wasp and change one of the 5 core heroes, but because they even have Venom on the box here that I have. So, I mean, it's not like they're like, oh, this is the box to design. They just swap them 2 cards quick. Yeah, so I'm not really sure why they didn't like get rid of like Black Widow or one of the other characters and keep Ant-Man and Wasp together. But whichever. However they did it, it's still fun. But it's also weird though that like a couple of the characters have 3 separate unique abilities on their cards. I think other ones, like I said, Captain America's, he had 3 of the same named ones, but they did a little bit. They each had a different icon on the bottom. So I'm like, okay, I see they're kind of different. But then like Hulk's were all the same and Black Widow's were all the same. So it's kind of weird they did that. Here's just a setup for how this all sits in here. So the figure's sitting there nice. Yeah, the storage. People have said that if you want to sleeve your cards, you can sleeve them all and put all the cards in the middle, and they're going to stick up a little bit. You can already see they're doing that, but they won't sit in these spots, sleeved left and right. So I guess it's kind of like if you're going to keep everything in here and you want to sleeve it, you know, you have to just kind of play around with that and dump the tokens in there. And all the character cards should just sit on here. And we have to dump all the tokens in there. But yeah, like even for sleeving wise, it's a CMON game, but it's being produced by Spin Masters, who I feel kind of just pump out games for mass market. So it's great that CMON jumped in, and you know we're gonna get hopefully a bunch of expansions. I'm going to assume they're all gonna hit retail, since they're not all Kickstarter exclusives. There's only like 2 of like the 6 that were exclusive. And again, when they all come, I'll make that video. But I know everyone's hoping they're gonna make like a second season, is what they're calling it on the Kickstarter page, with more characters and maybe go like X-Men and Fantastic Four. I kind of feel it depends how it does in the stores. If it sells really well and the base set sells really well, and then if they release the expansions to mass market, you know, stores like Wal-Mart and Target and stuff, and more people see them and they sell well, then they probably will. But I don't know if they're going to do it just for a Kickstarter purpose. That's my thought, at least. Also, the fact that since this game came out in August and the expansions presumably aren't going to hit until after March of next year, which is, you know, another 6-7 months away. 6 months away, I think. And that's assuming the first expansion comes out when the Kickstarter people get theirs, and that might not happen either. Is people that bought this right now or buy this around the holiday, and 4 months later, are they still going to want expansions enough? You know, I mean, general retail. Gamers, yep, gamers love this stuff. They'll buy expansions. But I don't feel like most of the people that go pick up a game at Walmart usually buy anything outside of the base set, which is why you don't generally see expansions. I think the only game I see expansions for at Walmart, even at Target, generally are things like, outside of party games like Cards Against Humanity, I only see stuff for Villainous and Funkoverse. And all of those expansions are standalone games. So you go and you buy it, you can buy it. And this, I don't think the expansions for this game are standalone. You get heroes. You get, I think, 3 heroes and a villain in a set. So you could play them by themselves. You could play that, but I don't think you get any of the tokens or the board location stuff. So they're not really standalone in that sense, unless they added a couple extra tokens for each thing, but I don't think they did. Alright, so check you guys out when I get Wasp. Hopefully maybe I can get some gameplay videos out. Check out all my other videos. See you guys later. Bye.